Welcome to the Lantern Room. I'm at my third episode now, properly done. And I'm finally giving you a welcome. Welcome to the Lantern Room. So today's reflection is ad lib. It's coming directly from my brain. And the topic today is, what are you carrying? What are you carrying? Yesterday we talked about what is enough, and the day before, the first episode was on the concept of reciprocity. So today feels like it makes sense to move towards what are we carrying. And so I use AI to ask me difficult questions, and then I randomly ramble. Well, I try not to ramble, but I try to tell stories based on my life experience and as honestly and authentically as possible. And in the hopes that maybe it's going to bring some clarity to people. So I have a few questions for myself to reflect on. I do this naturally when I journal. I've done this for years when I journal. I think it's good to question our own biases. It's good to look at our lives from different perspectives. On the idea of carrying, it's sometimes, like, I found my life to be very much about the notion of responsibility, right? Not just physical responsibilities, emotional responsibilities, mental, spiritual. What are our responsibilities? I have been mentioning along the way here that I believe that we are here. We have been brought here to this planet through no choice of our own, or maybe there is a choice, right? Some spiritual practices would say that, before we come here, we choose to come here, and we're here to learn lessons. And I do believe that's true. I do believe that the earth is a place for us to learn. I do believe we're here for a purpose and a reason. I don't believe that everything is random. I just don't. There's so much design behind everything. I'm not saying that there's a God somewhere in the clouds. That's not how I think. But I do think everything is alive. It's filled with energy. There's a lot of magic that we don't understand. And we are part of all that is. And there is enough in my life, enough moments of magic to point me in the direction that says, you were brought here with all of these gifts and talents, as was everyone else. And when I meet people, they're so fascinating. They have so much, so interesting. They've brought here. Sometimes they've been, as all of us, we live through these experiences that make us not always want to go forth and express those talents. It's taken me a long time to express my own talents. I'm learning to have that confidence to use my voice, how to use my voice, and what is my responsibility, right? What am I carrying? So I'm 55 now. I would say that my whole life I've felt responsible to take care of people, especially starting from a very young age. I felt like it was my duty to give what I could to my students. So I was responsible for them. I've often felt responsible to protect. As a parent, protect, provide, promote, support. As a friend, protect, provide, promote, support. And I love fiercely. There's no middle ground for me, it seems. I'm like the kind of person who I'm full in, right? So when it comes to pretty much everything, I'm very passionate about things. That means, what does passion mean, right? In terms of responsibility, it means that I'm fierce. I'm fiercely protective of the people that I love. So in that sense, protectiveness also means that you're willing to carry the weight of responsibility. It means that when shit goes down, you're there, right? And sometimes, because of this fierce sense of responsibility towards others, and it's not always come from a good place. I'd say sometimes I've started to realize that why do I feel such a responsibility, right? I mean, honestly, I have maybe a superhero complex. Maybe I would like to save the world, if I could. I'm like, yes, if I could make all those big changes on a world level, I would. And so I've had to kind of like understand the limits of my protectiveness and the limits of what I can do. And I think what's grounded me in the past has been to look at life as sort of like a garden that we take care of. I do very much care about like a lot of things. I care about a lot of things and I write about a lot of things, right? So like it breaks my heart to see what's happening in Gaza. It breaks my heart to see what happens in certain, and I'm aware of it, a lot of things. But the garden that I work are the people that I have in my world, and I figure, and I think it's borne itself well in general, I figure that if I work my garden of people and my next door neighbor works their garden of people and each person takes care of their garden, and like we'll live in a good world, right? So I can't save the whole world, but I can do what I can in my garden. And I mean, it's not 100% perfect. Everybody's on their journey. And I have learned that I can take responsibility in the sense that I can care for people and try not to hurt people. But when it comes to adults also have to take responsibility for their own lives. And carrying another person's load is not going to help them to become more resourceful. And in fact, it's a lack of respect towards that person. If you start carrying their load, it diminishes their understanding of what they can do for themselves. So there's a difference between helping someone for a moment and just being there as a listening ear and carrying their load for them. So I've learned to put down loads, especially with regards to adults, even with teenagers. So when I was a young teacher, a young naive teacher, I used to go home and worry about my students. I would go home and there would be students who had things to be worried about. Like, don't get me wrong, like I had some kids who had serious challenges, and I would have, if I could have, I would have adopted them. I would have. And then I have my own children, and I mean, if I could have adopted all the kids that I wanted to, the house would have been full of kids. But I also learned some things along the way, right? I learned that if the child wasn't in immediate harm, and that was clear to me, I had a responsibility. If a kid was in immediate harm and they wrote to me about it, I'm an English teacher at heart. I've taught English for years, and now I teach art. But like at the time, kids would tell me stories. They would tell me their lives, and that was excellent for them. But that was a heavy burden to read some of their stories and to carry that. What I understood was the act of writing was good for them, but I didn't need to carry their lives unless they were in immediate danger and they told me. And I would tell them that. If you tell me that you're in immediate danger, if something's going on and I need to get you extra help, I will do it. And I have. So that's a responsibility that I think all adults have, is to protect kids and to help them in the way that we can. We're authority figures, right? Even as adults, whether you're a teacher or not, I think that's our responsibility. So beyond that, what I did realize is that where I could carry some weight is just in listening to their stories, but I didn't have to save them. In fact, the strongest kids were often the ones who had been through the most. And if you let them understand that they were strong and that they were capable, and you just gave them a few little, kind of like if you were there for them, to listen to them, but not to carry the weight of their life, that empowered them. It empowered them. It made them believe in themselves. So I guess that came from me also making it through a really hard childhood and making my way through. That developed confidence, right? It's like when you have kids and if you shelter them too much, they're not going to grow they're not going to grow strong, right? So if you give them little decisions to make, little choices, little chores, not just appropriate to their age, you're not, appropriate to their age. For example, I would be like, okay, you're 3 years old. What could you decide? Well, you could pick up a few of your own little toys. You played with them. You can pick them up, right? Or, I would let my kids choose between 2 or 3 different outfits. It's not mayhem, but there's a choice. And then building those decisions, they get stronger. They get more confident. And as they grow up to become teenagers, having those discussions about real life, I am blessed to have had probably thousands of discussions over the years, with young people. And I love that. So I've let go of the notion of trying to save people or make decisions for their lives. I think that people have agency. They should have agency over their own lives. The next one was, how long have you been carrying responsibilities? I mean, now that the girls are grown up, I have 3 daughters, they're grown up and they've left the home. I've had to kind of as a parent, we always worry about our kids, right? Even as they get older. But I have learned that I can be there for them again, with my teens, but that their life decisions are their own now. And it is not up to me to bail them out for every little moment, right? They have their own journey to follow and their own mistakes to make. And as much as I'm an opinionated mom, which I am, it doesn't mean I have to give them advice when they're not asking for it, right? But when they ask, I'll tell them what I think. And the other thing is it's not my job to burden them with my life. My job is to take care of me. So my job is to be responsible for me so that they don't need to worry about me, right? As I get older, my number one goal is to be engaged, flourishing, healthy, be independent, have my own place, be financially stable. That's my job, right? So I don't want my children to have to take care of me if possible, really, really, really. So some things I've let go of in terms of responsibilities. It's the same thing as at work. I work now part-time as an art teacher, and I got to Quebec City. I'm super grateful for the work that I have. In fact, I moved a couple times to be closer to work, and I love the lifestyle of being close and being able to walk to school. The first few years, I was new to town, and I was fully engaged in the community that school is, and I wanted to build something solid. And I think I've done that as much as possible. So all the art talents, all the stuff that I could give to the school, I did. And now I give, but I'm balancing work with my other projects. So it took me a while to develop what would be my next life purpose, right? So as a teacher, that was a big, big thing for me, the purpose of being a teacher, the purpose of teaching. And now I've spent the last year rebuilding my photography page and figuring out who I am what's my identity now. And the Lisa space, which is within that a home to hold all my projects. So some pretty significant projects that are pointing me in a direction that is quite exciting for me. So I looked at the state of the world. I wrote a lot. And then I thought, what can I do with my skills and talents to bring something to the world? Even if it's just 1, 2, 10 people, it doesn't matter. What can I do that will feel positive with my talents to bring something positive to the world? So that's where Land and Lives was born. The idea that I love ordinary people's stories. I think everybody has a story in them. And what I want to do with Land and Lives is slowly document ordinary people's stories across Canada and beyond. Over a series of 7 or 8 years, I want to travel across Canada, meet people, ask them questions that point to their lives, and take their picture, take a little audio, write a little story and share it, and develop like a whole, I want to have like a whole portrait of what it is that's keeping us together as Canadians. I want to show our common, what we have in common. And so I've developed a series of cards with questions on them, my Land and Lives conversation cards. I've got a list of people that I want to initially talk to to get the ball rolling from Quebec and Ontario and perhaps Newfoundland. There will be shorter conversations and then there will be longer ones. And so what I'm planning on doing is slowly, and so I spent the whole winter working on the Lisa space to set everything up so that the structure would be there to hold all of these stories. And of course, there's photography on there, and there's writing as well. And there's the Lineage of Light, which is the mixed media art projects I want to do. So it's kind of a seasonal lifestyle I'm setting myself up for, where in the summer I wander, I talk to people, I gather stories and whatnot, and I'm writing field notes. So under the read section, I'm writing field notes, which I would normally have put on Facebook, just little things, but Facebook is like a little river and it just keeps on going. So I'm gathering these stories, and in the winter I'm going to start releasing these stories of people on Land and Lives. And some of them will become longer conversations, and they'll be on Spotify, and people can listen to the people's stories. Right? So that's what I'm carrying right now as a responsibility. But to do that, I've had to kind of reprioritize my life and go, okay, well, what can I let go of now? I don't have to take care of everything. I can let go of some things in order to take on bigger projects. So that's kind of where I'm going with things. I'm really excited. I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible in my own way to give back to the world some of the talents and gifts I've been given and to encourage other people to do that, to express their stories, to tell, right, what their lives, why are they here? So I'm not one of those people who believe in not being responsible, because I think that I believe we're spiritual beings in physical bodies. That's what I believe. I believe we have a soul. I believe we're not just here as to experience everything on a physical level. Although I'm all about noticing and storytelling. I when I walk, I notice things. I bring my camera to show people what I'm seeing, how I see the world. But we're more than that. I think we're meant to connect here. I think we're meant to learn through each other. And if I can help bridge the gaps that I see happening between us, if I can show the beauty of the connections that we have, of even how we all live together here in Canada, and we're all so very different. I just wrote a post about that about Canada Day and Canada, and how I see Canada, and how here we are. It's like a big democratic experiment. People from all over the world who are here in Canada, and we're creating this quilt and a tapestry of all these different lives. That's what I want to do. I want to tell the story of the people who are here, the regular, normal people. Because, Canadians, we're not very we're not that patriotic in the sense that we don't have like these big stars and stuff that we admire. Not really, right? But we're all living these heroic moments in the day-to-day. The person who lived through cancer, the person who supports their father or their mother, the immigrant who comes and lives in Newfoundland or wherever, all of the stories, the waitress who's struggling and with mental health problems, and all of us have interesting stories. So that's what I want to do. I want to interview and talk to normal, ordinary people and ask them questions. Simple questions, nothing crazy, but like simple questions about place and belonging and how did they find their way there, and that kind of thing. So as a closing reflection, if you could leave this conversation carrying one thing less, what would you choose to put down? What would you choose to put down? In order to make room for joy, in order to make room for something exciting, something filled with more purpose, Anyways, I'm going to leave you with that. Until next time, keep the lantern lit. Look at me with my structure. There's a welcome and there's a conclusion. Have a wonderful day. And I will probably try to post something for you tomorrow.